Hello and welcome to your weekly Spirit of the Soul show. It's Power Coach Alicia here, and today we are talking about stepping into your power of how you want to feel. And this is our fourth session in our Get Your Shift Together series. Let me just go ahead and get this shared around, and then I will be ready to rock and roll. If you are live with me, I would love it if you would drop hashtag live party in the comments. If you are watching this on replay, it's hashtag after party. Okay, cool. I got this everywhere I want it to be. So anyways, I usually hear Mondays right around 1:30 p.m. Eastern. Give me about a 15-minute leeway for technology and life. Like today, my computer was running really slow, so I'm way later getting on here than I normally would have been. But if you're on replay, it doesn't matter. So if you're live with me, drop hashtag live party. If you're watching this on replay, it is hashtag after party. Again, we are talking today all about getting into the power of how you want to feel. Now, I do have the October guide that goes along with this for the Get Your Shift Together series. So if you have not downloaded the Get Your Shift Together guide, I highly recommend that you drop hashtag October in the comments. And by doing that, my bot Shaniqua will send you the guide. Now, this is if you are on Facebook. If you are on YouTube, by commenting that, it won't work. Hopefully ManyChat connects to YouTube at some point in the future. But anyways, the next thing I'd like you to shout out in the comments is hashtag light. That will get you access to my free Let It Go bundle. Okay. And that's the only thing, like, just to make sure that the bot doesn't get confused, just put that be the only thing that you put in the comments. So hashtag October, hashtag light. I am streaming via StreamYard. So if you comment and I don't see your comments, it's because they're not pulling through on StreamYard. I don't want you to think that I am ignoring you. Also, if you go to soulfirepodcast.com, I release a new episode every Thursday on this podcast about real life, real shit, real raw. And there will be a new episode dropping on Halloween this week. So again, that is soulfirepodcast.com. You can listen to this on Spotify, Apple Podcast, or anywhere there is a podcast. I have it everywhere. Now, most of you have been with me throughout this entire series, so you more than likely have your guide that goes along with this. It's always weird when people come home when I'm in trainings. I need to put doors on my office. Okay, I'm just gonna go and double check this guide though and look at where I just want to make sure that we are on track with the information, all the good stuff. If I can find it. I should have done this before I got on, but again, my computer was running really slow, so I just had to wait for it to get its shit together. So this is going to be twofold: shifting into the next level version of you / stepping into the power of how you want to feel. Okay, cool. I just wanted to make sure that I'm on track with this. So last session, we talked about knowing your ability to give, right? And so we talked about your willingness, your ability, your capacity, and the questions that you ask yourself to know whether or not you can say yes to someone else, or if it's imperative that you say yes to you. Oh, so actually, we are talking today about your personal power, growing, shifting, and loving yourself. Those will be the four things that we talk about. So let's get into number one, which is your personal power. Okay. And this is actually what this session should have been called, was shifting into the next level version of you. So let me edit that out. Just I have a few variations of this training. Sometimes I do shifting, sometimes I do next level, or excuse me, how you want to feel. Sometimes I do a blend of these two, which today we'll do a blend of these two, but this is all the steps that you take to shift into the next level version of you. And the very first thing is your personal power. All right. This is stepping into, standing in, and protecting your personal power. All three of these things are so freaking important. So stepping into your personal power looks like taking inventory within, okay? Going within and saying, how do I feel? All right. So you can ask yourself questions like, how do I feel, first and foremost? My phone is being annoying, so let me put that on mindfulness. How do I feel? That's the first question. How do I feel? Do you guys know how annoying it is when your hair is wet and it's on your neck? If you have short hair, are you like that? It drives me batshit. I either need to get a haircut or it needs to get longer. But the stage that it's in is highly, highly annoying. Okay, I just thought I would share that with you. Anyways, stepping into it by asking yourself, how do I currently feel? And then number 2 is, how do I want to feel? Okay, so when you're asking yourself, how do I feel? You're going to get all of the answers you need to know that things need to change. And you got to be honest with yourself. I want to mention that being extremely honest with yourself with this is really, 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 really important. Okay, if you do not go to extreme honesty, then you are not going to get the answers that you want. And it's really pointless to do this sort of work here. So when you talk about stepping into your personal power, how do I feel? How do I want to feel? All right. So first question is, how do I feel? And you can do this for so many different things. Okay. The next is, how do I want to feel? And then next is, what does my soul need? Okay, how do I feel? How do I want to feel? What does my soul need? When you answer these questions in your guide, where I've given you space to dive into this, you have your first page that kind of tells about it and a little bit of space to write. And then your second page is full space to write. Okay, how do I feel? How do I want to feel? What does my soul need? Now, you can take these questions, and first and foremost, this is about personal power, and this is about stepping into your power. So what you want to make sure that you do is ask yourself these questions about you, yourself, first and foremost. But then you can take these questions and you could be talking about stepping into your power in a relationship, stepping into your power in a career, stepping into your power as in a business, stepping into your power as a mom. How do I feel as a mom? How do I want to feel as a mom? What does my soul need, or what does this relationship need in order to move forward, in order to grow forward together, right? How do I feel about my business? How do I want to feel about my business? And what do I need in order to step forward in an empowering way in my business? How do I feel about my job? How do I want to feel about my job? And what do I actually need in order to step forward in my career? And by being really honest with yourself, you will get some phenomenal answers in order to really move and grow. Okay, so the next part of personal power. So when you look at the first part of personal power, it's feel, want, need. Okay, so I'm going to put this feel plus want plus need. And again, this can be used in any area, but I first and foremost want you to be using this for you. Okay. I actually like my soul healing, so I'm branding better, so we'll use that one. Okay, feel, want, need, right? When you step into this, you are stepping into your power. Okay, you first have to step into your power so that you have those feelings and that urge and that connection to protect what it is that you now know you feel. If you start with protecting your power, you don't know what you're protecting, right? You're not really going to move very well because you don't really know what it is that you're protecting. And generally speaking, you won't do the work to protect it. Okay, generally speaking, you're not going to do the work to protect it because at the end of the day, you don't even know what this really feels like. It doesn't even matter. That's a lot more work than you really want to give it. Da 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 da. But when you first step into your power, you recognize how that feels. And when we talk about power, we're not talking about control. We are talking about, well, in a way, we are talking about control. Let me rephrase. When we talk about power, we aren't talking about control over others. We are talking about stepping into the power and the control of you, how you feel, what you want, what you need, right? Feel, want, need. All right. So next is, we're still under personal power. It's protecting. your power. Okay, so when you look at, oh, there's a fly here. When you look at protecting your power, now you have these feelings, these wants, these needs. You've gotten really, starting to get really clear on this and really connecting with this and really just knowing what it is that you are living for and working toward within the relationship with yourself. Because in this example, we are talking about personal power, although, like I said, you can use it for other things. Okay. So now you've got to protect it. Now, the biggest way or the biggest ways that people protect their power is in negative energy. So it'll be negative. It will be defensiveness. It will be disregarding. It will be deflecting. Hey, Anne. It will be redirecting. It will be dismissive. Okay. You do not protect your power by being defensive and disregarding and deflecting and redirecting the conversation and being dismissive. That is not how you protect your power. So this is the wrong way to protect your power. But this is how most people do it. Because, see, we enter in these relationships, and number one thing that will deplete your power is the relationship with your significant other, first and foremost. I would say number two is your children / family, and number three is your coworker, work environment, boss. Okay, so partner, kid / family, and then whatever you're doing in your career. Okay, so most of the time we enter into these energies and these relationships, and we're going to first and foremost focus on your significant other because it's number one, and we are in battle mode. So they say something, they do something, and it's defensive. You're disregarding what you're deflecting, you're redirecting, you're being dismissive. Okay. Now, where we are talking about protecting your power, but they did something that is against that. And your immediate response is like this battle sort of energy. And if it isn't defensiveness, it's more than likely one of these other ones. And remember that redirecting is also avoidance. Okay. So let me be clear that it's like redirecting / avoidance there. So what we want to do is not do these things. So how do you protect your power? Strong boundaries. Okay. And enforcing those boundaries. Plus, massive clarity. So let me explain to you what I mean. So if the negative side of protecting your power is defensiveness and disregarding, deflecting, redirecting, and being dismissive, and the positive side is setting strong boundaries and enforcing these boundaries with massive clarity, clarity becomes the most important part of this first and foremost. And the challenge is the process in creating and enforcing the boundaries is where the clarity comes. So you're not going to be 100% fully clear in every layer, in every way of what your boundaries are, A to Z. Okay. So the most important thing is to sit down and look at this and go, okay, first off, I want to be as clear as I possibly can in this very moment about what my most important boundaries are. Okay. That's it. Like the most you can be. And if you can think of multiples, think of number one. Like, what is your number one non-negotiable boundary? And remember, boundaries are like, hey, this is what I have set for me. This is what is most important for me. This is what I accept. This is what I do not accept. This is when I walk. This is, how I stay. This is where I realize that this isn't a good relationship. This isn't a good fit for me. This isn't something I'm willing to do. Those boundaries are about the actions you're going to take based off of how someone shows up. Okay. So they can show up however they want, but you have how it's basically your guidebook, your rule book, and how you follow, how you live, how you lead. And one of the hardest things to do is when you have a partner is how do you be committed to that person for the rest of your physical being lives while also having non-negotiable boundaries that if they break and continue to break, that you could walk away from. And there can be this really hard tug of war within you of, okay, I've set this strong boundary. It's clear. I'm enforcing this boundary with clarity. And it is a non-negotiable for me, but this person is disrespecting, devaluing, and dishonoring my boundaries. So then it's, well, what do you do? Because you've made this commitment to this person, but they are not honoring really their commitments to you. And that's when it can be really, really hard and really, really challenging on what the next steps are to take. Okay. And so ultimately, I'm going to give you one piece of advice here when it comes to this, because it goes so much deeper than this. Okay. It would be an entire 1-hour training, and we're literally already 15 minutes into this, and we're literally on bullet point number 1 of 4. We're really only talking about your personal power right now. Right. So if it is your partner and they are obliterating your boundary, and your non-negotiable is like, hey, I don't accept this from anyone. And if they show up this way in my life and I let them know, hey, this is my boundary and this is something that I don't allow in my life, and that I walk on this, and that person does this. One, I don't know how you ended up married without them knowing that. But in the same breath, I do, right? Because ultimately we should have been expressing these things and making sure they understood these things right from the gate. But me, I didn't know anything about that when I got married at 21 years old. I had no idea about, okay, here's my boundaries. I knew they were being obliterated, but I didn't know it was a boundary that was being obliterated. I just knew that I was frustrated with how I felt. But you know what I mean? Like, it wasn't like, oh, that's a boundary that's being obliterated, and now I can articulate that. That wasn't a thing for me. Okay. So when I say I don't know how you got married without them already being discussed, it's kind of like tongue in cheek, because I was one of those people that got married without it being discussed. I was one of those people who, I guess, was full steam ahead and didn't really even pay attention to anything. So if you're there and this is now something that you know is a non-negotiable, it makes it really hard, because the next step and the way you feel is like, okay, then that means that I need to leave. And I'm one of those people who will run if I have told you and told you and told you and told you, and I've expressed this and it's clear. I'm one of those people that's like, okay, fuck it, then I'm done. I truly am. And it's very hard when you've made this commitment. And so at that point, you probably need to get outside help. And it may not be going to a therapist, because I have a whole opinion on that and what that looks like, feels like, and what that does. I feel like therapy in my marriage did way more damage than it ever did good. And we've been to multiple therapists. There's only one therapist in all the years that Daniel and I have gone to therapy that was worth it. And the rest of them caused massive destruction. Just because of the way that they showed up and choosing sides and not facilitating. And there were multiple therapists from different facets of life and different states even, and they still failed. So anyways, when I say get help, I'm talking about books and podcasts and, you know, maybe some online courses that you can take where you can get in there and you guys can do this work together, but there isn't this outside influence who is, you know, pulling it to one side or the other, especially if you have a dynamic where you are a type A personality leading the life and more quote unquote in control, and the other person is more passive. I think that when you go into a therapy environment, the passive person generally is really good at playing victim and showing that they're doing all the right things. Their energy always comes off very like smooth and calm and, you know, like all the right ways. And if you're type A, like I am, it can be a little bit more aggressive, right? A little bit more in everyone's face, a little bit more like, fuck this shit, I'm not putting up with that. It's like, well, when you meet things with that kind of energy, you know what I mean? Where the person who's being calm is still meeting it with an energy that isn't working either, but the conversation isn't being had like that in therapy 9 times out of 10. I've experienced this over and over and over and over again. Just because I'm meeting it with that type A, maybe more aggressive, assertive energy, and they're meeting it with a more passive, quote unquote, disconnected energy / saying all the right things in that tone, doesn't mean that they're right. it doesn't mean that they're wrong. It doesn't mean that I'm right. It doesn't mean that I'm wrong. But I have found that when you put another person there, which I don't know, they go to school for this shit, so I don't know why it's so hard for them. But when you put a person into that, it can really cause a lot of problems. So when I say get outside help, I want you to do books and podcasts, maybe a course you guys could do together. Maybe you can go on a marriage or couples retreat, but it isn't about it being all focused on you, but you guys learning things together and then practically applying it. All right, so let's get into number 2. Number 2 is growing. So number 1 was your personal power, right? This is how you shift into the next level version of you. So number 1 was growing. And we talked about stepping into your power and protecting your power. Stepping into your power is what you feel. How do I feel? How do I want to feel? And what does my soul need? Okay. And then protecting your power is strong boundaries, enforcing those boundaries with massive clarity. Okay. So number 2 is growing. You always need to be learning and growing. So here is a very transparent story, and there's a good chance that this will be the podcast episode either this week or next week. All right. I have my podcast mapped out for the month of November, but I have a feeling that this is going to be a podcast episode in November. But I am one of those people that if I'm struggling with something, I go to work, I go to grow. Okay. So struggling equals go to grow. Okay. And so what I mean by this is if I'm struggling with one of my partners, I will study them astrologically. I will study their chart. I will study their shadows of their chart. I will study where we may have some friction and conflict in our relationship. I will study how to be a better version of myself in that actual relationship and our dynamic of our astrological makeup. I go to work to grow. Another thing that I will do, like today, I went and found a relationship podcast. I don't even think I got a 1 full minute into the episode before I was bawling, because I believe that if you are struggling with something, that you need to grow. It doesn't mean that the relationship is saved. It doesn't mean that relationship is protected. It doesn't mean that you guys are going to make it. And it also doesn't mean that it's over. It doesn't mean any of those things, but I go to grow. So when I'm talking about shifting in the next level version of you, I'm using a very personal story that literally happened this morning as I'm getting ready to start my day and be here and show up. And it's like, listen, I am feeling that I need so much work in the relationship realm, even though I am very much what's the word that I'm looking for? I have a lot of knowledge, and I would say I am at mastery level in all sorts of relationships. But in love relationships, like I've been married for 20 years and I've gone through hell and back in that relationship. He's gone through hell and back in that relationship. And so I think that because of how much we've grown and how much we've learned, that we are at mastery level, but that doesn't mean that we are masters, right? We're still learning, we're still growing, and I'm still going to grow when I struggle. So I do that in all ways. If I feel like I responded to a conversation or I responded away in a conversation that wasn't honoring to, first and foremost, myself with value, honor, and respect, I'm going to go and journal. I'm going to go to grow. I will go and journal, and I've created this entire process where you heal after conflict. And I use it as a twofold. My first part of it is to see, what did I miss? My second part of it is to see, how can I grow? And my third part of it is to see, what do I need to bring back to the table for them? Now, I don't know what they're going to do with it, but I'm going to bring it back to the table if there is something. So when I say, bring it back to the table for them, I don't mean like, what is it that they need to go do? I mean, they do need to go do it, but that's not what I mean. Here it is. I'm going to set it on the table. You get to decide whether or not you're going to pick it up. That's what I mean. What am I going to bring back to them? So in growing, if you're struggling, you need to go to grow. Go find the information to grow. In the Soulfire podcast, if you go to soulfirepodcast.com, you will find that the whole theme of the podcast is real life, real shit, real raw. And the reason why it's real life, real shit, real raw is because I am phenomenal what I do at Soul Healing. But that doesn't mean that I don't go through life and that shit doesn't suck. And it doesn't mean that it's not hard. And it doesn't mean that I don't make mistakes or fucking utterly fail. It doesn't mean that I'm not pissed off and frustrated with myself because of a commitment that I made to myself and someone else. And I fucking break that. It doesn't mean any of that. And that podcast is literally about the journey of life and growing as a person and making mistakes and failing along the way. And literally, I could rebrand the entire podcast of being like a phoenix rising from the ashes. I feel like that's my entire life, is death and rebirth of myself, my life, and my relationships over and over and over and over and over again. That's what I'm here for. That's what I was meant for. And I talk about it in a podcast episode that's like, rise from the ashes of life or something like that. And that was either early October or late September podcast episode. You should go listen to it. It's fucking brilliant, because I am big in astrology, and Pluto has a lot of impact on me because of when I was born and all those things. And I won't go too deep into, but Pluto is the planet of death, rebirth, and transformation. So the phoenix is literally like my totem and my spirit animal, and really, really connects with me. So what I'm saying here is that if you need some support and some help in this journey and you're just feeling like a failure, or maybe not, maybe you're like, but I do want to grow and I do want to get better and I want to build my emotional intelligence and my self awareness and, that sort of thing, emotional regulation. I mean, basically the entire fucking podcast is about that. We are in season 3 right now. And actually, I can't believe this, but we will be wrapping up season 3 pretty fucking soon. I don't even know if I do November podcasts. I don't know if I ended in November. I need to go look, but we will be wrapping up season 3 really soon of the Soulfire podcast. And it has been a powerful one. It's been all about enjoying the journey with some massive lessons along the way. So with that, number 2 is growing, right? Go to grow. So when there's an area that you've let yourself down, there's an area that you want to be better, there's an area that you want to learn, go there to grow. Go there to learn so that you can grow. By the way, if you are here live with me, I am streaming via StreamYard. So if I am not responding to you, it's not because I'm ignoring you. It's because I cannot see your comments. All right. So I just wanted to let you know that. I will go back after this and I will look at your comments and I will respond to them all there. But this just allows me to stream in multiple locations and make sure that I'm getting my information out as in many places as I possibly can. But also, if you're just joining me, you definitely want to drop #October in the comments, because it gets you the guide and everything that we've got going on or have had going on for the month of October here at the Soul Healing Zone. So #October, if you are on YouTube watching this somewhere else, that won't work. But if you're on Facebook, that will work. So #October. All right. So first and foremost, drop that in the comments. Make sure you have the guide. You can go back and listen to the replays. I have linked them all in your guide, so you'll be able to do that back to the events. And if you can't find the replays there, you can definitely find them on the Power Coach Alicia Facebook page. All right. So number 2 is #light. That's where you're going to get my Let It Go bundle. It has so much good stuff in there. It's the best place to start on your soul healing journey, or the best place to get a tune-up. That is absolutely free. Remember, the October guide is free. The Let It Go bundle is free. And then, of course, the Soulfire podcast at soulfirepodcast.com is free as well. So now we are going to jump into shifting. Okay. Number 3 is shifting. If you don't know who I am, I'm Power Coach Alicia, by the way, soul healer, author, and speaker, and I specialize in teaching you how to never apologize for who you are, how you feel, and what you need. So if you're ready to find your voice and create a harmony in your life and be able to really step into your power and put yourself first while feeling connected to yourself, then you are absolutely in the right place. Now, I am really, really, really big on shifting. Shifting is so, so, so important, because it doesn't matter if you listen to all of this and you go to grow. It doesn't matter if you listen to all this and you do the journal work from the personal power section of this, right? It doesn't matter. You have to be willing to shift. Okay. So this kind of brings back in our knowing your ability to give from last session, but from a different perspective, because you go ability to shift. is number one of shifting. So you're going to look at this and you go, do I have the ability to shift this? Another way that this is said is this within my circle of control. Like, you can't shift it from someone else's perspective and what they do and how they show up, but can you shift it from yours? Can you shift it from what you say, what you do, and how you show up? Your answer is yes. Then you go to your willingness. Okay? Willingness to shift. That's next. Are you willing to do the work that it takes to shift? Let's go back to the boundaries that we talked about in the personal power section. You've made this commitment to this person, till death do us part, we're here forever. But now you have these boundaries in place that they're obliterating over and over and over and over. But the consequence is for the person that you're going to walk out of their life, because you've already established this, if they are not willing to respect, honor, and value your boundaries. If they're not willing to do that, which they have the choice of whether or not they're going to do that, you have your choice too of whether or not you're going to stay. So you have the willingness to shift. Now, this can be a very hard, and I do this like shaky handy thing, gray area, because maybe your boundaries are so staunch and so tight and so high that no one is ever going to be able to honor that at the level that you need it honored in order to stay in their life. So are you willing to shift that? Are you willing to shift how you show up for yourself? Are you willing to do something different in a disagreement, right? So a willingness to shift. In the past, I was never willing to shift. Very steadfast. I'm a Taurus, stubborn, stuck in my own ways, right? The other day we had our Halloween party, our yearly Halloween party that we have. And, I do my best always to keep my fucking word when I make a commitment. Do I fail at that sometimes? Yes. But I have two ways, or one way that I really handle this, okay? I will always make a commitment that I feel like I can make. Even if it means pushing myself completely outside of my comfort zone, what I know, what my default mode is, all of it, all the fucking excuses people use to not show the fuck up, even if it means all of those things, I will make that commitment if I feel like it is important enough for me, first and foremost, value, honor, respect, and love of myself, first and foremost, and two, value, honor, and respect of them, then I will make that commitment if it is the most important to me right now, and that I can do it. If I believe in myself to do it, okay? And if I'm willing, because sometimes I'm not willing. I will tell my partner specifically, I'm not willing to do that. I'm not willing to put my focus and energy on that right now because I am currently doing my best to keep my word in this place, this place, this place, and this place. And that to me is not near as important as these things. I understand it's important to you, but these are more important to me first and foremost, for myself first, and then for our relationship second. So I'm not going to entertain that. Although I hear you, I don't have the capacity or the willingness for that right now. Okay. Back to the Halloween party. One of my biggest things that I am working on that I have the ability and the willingness to do is I want to verbalize this in a better way than negative. So let me think. Is to show the fuck up when I am triggered. Okay? So if you say something or you do something that pisses me the fuck off, old version of me old version of me just let you fucking have it. I didn't give a fuck who was around. I didn't give a fuck what we were doing. If you had the balls to disrespect, de-honor, devalue me in front of everyone, then I should have the right to meet you there, which I do. I still believe I have the right to meet you there. However, in my growth, when I meet you there, I'm ready to fucking lay you the hell out. My blood pressure is high. My mouth is getting dry. I just see fucking red. Disrespect is so huge for me. It takes me from zero to throat punch. There's no middle ground until now. So Daniel says something, and man, it was like, I even took a breath. I went to respond, and then I went. So everyone in the kitchen heard him, everyone in the living room was in the middle of a conversation. But everyone in the living room, there were like 3 people who were faced towards me, even though they were having a conversation with the people to the side. So I get ready to say something, and then I shut my mouth. And I just look at him, and then I look away. He knows me well enough 20 years later. Well, we've known each other for now 28 years almost. So he knows me well enough to know that he just fucked up. Okay? The growth is my willingness to shift in the information that I've had to be a better version of myself. And first and foremost, the commitment that I've made to myself. Yes, he's going to get the benefit of me not embarrassing him in front of everyone. But honestly, I don't give a fuck about that. In my mind, he deserves to be embarrassed in front of everyone because he didn't give a fuck to not respect and not embarrass me in front of everyone. So I will always meet you where you are when it comes to those things, unless I am going to be impacted the worst on that. Why do I say I? Because it's me first. I'm first and foremost worried about how I value, honor, respect, and love myself. First and foremost, fucking always. Because if I focus on that first and foremost, secondarily, everyone else wins. Does this make sense? So that's why it's always about you first. Value, honor, respect, and love of yourself first. When I'm yelling, yeah, that fucking sucks for him, but I don't give a fuck about that first and foremost. First and foremost, I care about what it's doing to my blood pressure, my body, my mind, my heart, my soul. I am getting the worst of that. Okay, and then I am frustrated, and then I'm pissed off at myself. There's all these things that happen within my realm of my mind, body, and soul. First and foremost, that I can't stand, and I'm going to give my fucking self a heart attack if I'm on that track for the rest of the way. Then secondarily, it's eroding and fucking up this relationship and hurting this human and destroying the human. But the embarrassment, I could give a fuck less about. I don't think I'll ever give a fuck about that because I am a meet someone where they are. So in my mind, and if anybody else was listening, especially the people in the kitchen, they know me well enough to know that that pissed me off as well. So it's all clear. But I get to decide how I respond, and I have my willingness to shift. This is a commitment that I made to myself first and foremost, is that I was going to stop and I was going to think, because anger is my default mode. I was raised that way. I was taught that way, and it's my protection. So it's like, okay, and me keeping my mouth shut is one of the hardest fucking things I've ever done. I have a lot to say, obviously. What are we, 37 minutes into this, right? So I've made the decision to think about what is it that I'm actually feeling. And the reason why we're spending so much time on this is because it's very, very, very important. It's very important. Because if you, don't pay attention to what it is, if you don't have a willingness to shift, none of the information in the world fucking matters. It doesn't fucking matter. This whole entire session is pointless if you are not willing to shift, if you are not able to shift. And also, if you don't have the capacity for it, which I kind of touched on, but I'll touch on it more in just a second. So the first thing that I do, I didn't start out this way. Someone say something, I get fucking pissed. And boom, I was still unleashing, but it was at a level down. I was like, nope, I still don't like that fucking level. It was progress. Good job. Like, I remembered to keep it where it was. It was progress, but it wasn't enough for me. Again, I don't care about the other person right now. I made this commitment to myself first and foremost. See, this is where we get completely fucked up, right? We constantly do everything for everyone else, and we're not paying attention to ourselves. Okay? So this would happen day in and day, month in and month out. We'll come back to the Halloween party story in just a second. And so I would still get into that anger because it'd be triggered and then down and then down and then down and then down. Then I went the wrong way. This is another big problem. It wasn't good enough for me. I was now dishonoring, devaluing, disrespecting, and not loving myself because now I was holding my fucking tongue. Oh, no. Both spectrums were a fucking problem. Okay? Like, this doesn't work for me either, because when I hold my tongue, my stomach gets sick, and it all manifests in my body, just like yelling. So now I'm doing the exact fucking same thing to myself, but by not saying anything. I mean, my stomach will turn, it will get nauseous, I will sweat like crazy by not speaking up. My heart doesn't, well, yeah, that's not true. My heart still races. My mouth still gets dry because I have something to say and now I'm not saying it. So it's like the same impact, but now the person hears nothing. That wasn't working for me. But now we've got the anger ticked down a lot. So then it was like, okay, this still isn't working. What do you need to do? You need to notate what the feeling is. Are you hurt? Do you feel disrespected? Do you feel dishonored? Do you feel like you're not loved right now? Do you feel unappreciated? Do you feel taken advantage of? Do you feel like they're being cared? Like, what is it? Like they don't care about you? What is it? You're not actually mad. You are fill in the blank. All right, enter back to story. So I shut my mouth. Big breath, look away. He comes and sits down next to me, this is always a bad idea if we are in a group of people. Always a bad idea for me. Because listen, my only goal is that when you do something that pisses me off, to not respond immediately to that, take a step back, breathe, think, and then speak. But if you come and talk to me before I have enough time to process this, the chance of me biting your head off and it's still elevating a little bit is high. I need time. Most times I need to come to you because I need time to process through my mind what's going on, how I feel about this. If you interrupt that, I tend to fail. I need you to shut the fuck up and leave me alone. But I didn't know all of this. Okay, please understand. I didn't know all this. So I'm learning this along the way, and I'm getting better about someone interrupting that. And my tone not being great, but I'm not yelling. I'm not being degrading, but I'm still being way more aggressive than I'd like to be when you interrupt me. Okay, so comes, sits down next to me, and he says, "I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that." And I said, "Ooh, you are so fucking lucky because I wanted to hand you your fucking ass. You don't get to disrespect me like that. You have no right to disrespect me like that. You have something to say to me, you say it to me. But you don't speak up like that in a group of people and disrespect me like that ever a fucking again. Because I will hand your ass to you the next time you do that." Now, the people who are closest to me knows what that means. That means I will bitch them out up one side, down the other. I will cut them down to the size of an ant and they will feel worthless. I hate being that human. I hate being that human. But I do know that I am not very far away from being that human, so they get a warning. I hear you. Here's your warning. Don't you dare fucking do that to me again. This is a boundary that has already been obliterated for years of our relationship. You had already cleared and stopped this, and now you're starting it again. And while we're at it, you did it to our kid. You did it to our friend. Fix your fucking shit. This isn't about me. This is a you issue, right? Now, this wasn't the whole conversation then. We've had multiple conversations since then, but I was able to articulate what I needed to say. Not as good as I would like to get to, but like 100% better than I ever have. And it was funny because he sent me a text that said, "Thank you so much for being so nice about that." Ooh, and that just made my stomach tighten and turn because I wasn't nice. But to him, I was leaps and bounds nicer than I've ever been, so I was nice. We're spending a lot of time on shifting because shifting is where you allow what you know or what you've learned is your practical application. This is where you let people down or people let you down and not keeping their word. They say all these things, they learn all these things, and you get to this point and then it gets fucking dropped on its ass. Nobody does anything. It's like you made this promise, you made this commitment, you said you would, and you didn't. Okay? Shifting is where the rubber meets the road for you and for them. Commitments to yourself that you make to other people. You must shift with what you've learned, or in my world, you're a liar. I'm doing my best to rewrite that because I have no space for liars, and that's a very high-level boundary obliteration. Fuck you. So for me, if you make a commitment to me and you break that commitment and you don't come to me and say, "Hey, I know I told you, bleep, blah, blah, and I know I let you down, and I know I didn't keep my word, and here's what I'm going to do about it." If you don't do that, because I don't expect anybody to be perfect. But I do expect you to own your fucking shit right out the gate, and don't make me mommy you and come to you and say, "You told me that you would do this. You said that you would show up this way. You said you would show up that way." And then now we're in this defensive, disregard, diminish, redirect. Okay. And that's what they're doing. Oh no, you made this commitment to me. Now I'm bringing it up to you. And now you're defending the fact that you didn't do what you said you were going to do against me, bringing it up to you to remind you. Oh my God, I will lose my fucking mind. I will lose my mind. Okay. So do your best to apply the things that you learn. And when you fuck it up, go to them. Because if you come to me and you say, I fucked it up, Anne can tell you right here in the chat, she used to work for me. You fuck up for me, the worst thing you could ever do is give me your excuses. The worst thing that you could ever do is defend yourself. I am like that 100%. Because it's a moot point. Own your fucking shit. Tell me you fucked up. Tell me you know how you fucked up. And tell me how you're going to do better next time. And when next time presents itself, and the universe will always give you a next time, your ass better follow suit. Because if you let me down again right there, you're starting to create division in this relationship. Okay? And whether it's a work relationship, a love relationship, a friend relationship, if you work for me and you keep fucking up and you keep going into the negative, defensive, da-da-da, 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 you're going to get your ass fucking fired. Or that relationship's going to be so fucking turbulent because I don't do that. But you fuck up for me, like cost me money. I have like 3 things that if you fuck up when you work for me that are huge for me. All you got to do is say, I fucked it up. I'm fixing it. I know what I did. And I stay calm. But every single person who has ever worked for me has learned this the hard way. I always tell you that when I hire you. Always. And they have always had to learn it the hard way. They fucked up. They defended. Da-da-da-da. I got their ass. Okay? Oh, no. We don't do that. They're like, whoa, you're right. Boom. The next time they fucked up, they came to me. You know what? I fucked this up. Or I came to them and say, hey, we talked about this. Da-da-da, da-da-da. They're like, I know. I messed it up. I'm fixing it. Okay. Fucking fix it and don't let it happen again. That's the kind of person that I am. But is there a chance it's going to happen again? Yep. But I want you to fucking own it. And I want you to fix it. But it better not be back to back. It better not be the same thing back to back. For me, that person isn't shifting. That person isn't learning. That person isn't growing. That person doesn't give a fuck. Okay. I know we spent a long time on this, but this is fucking imperative. The last one is capacity. The capacity to shift. So I have taught this in your ability, willingness, and capacity in knowing when to give. And now we're talking about your ability, your willingness, and your capacity to shift. That was all about willingness. Because listen, if you have the ability, but you have the willingness and you don't keep your word. Woo. Oh, that was something I was going to say under this really quick. I want to mention this. I believe that when you don't keep your word, you're a liar. And you become a liar when I bring it to your attention. You defend yourself and make excuses for yourself, not at the first sign of you not doing it. We're human. But the second I bring it to you and you start down that negative, defensive, redirecting track, now you're a liar, you broke your word to me, and I don't do liars. But when I bring it to you and you fucked up, and I don't need that I'm sorry bullshit and, the puppy dog face. What I need is, thank you for bringing that to my attention. I will do better next time. Bye. Whatever the fuck you're going to do. And when the universe gives you that next time, you do it. Because that next time is whether or not you are a person of your word, or if you just say whatever the fuck you say because you want to quiet me. Okay. Keep your fucking word. It's huge. So the capacity to shift. Did you remember I said just a few minutes ago that my partners or someone in my life can bring me something, generally partners, and they could say, hey, this does bother me. I use this example all the time because it's a funny example. It's not a thing in our relationship anymore. Or maybe it is for him and he just doesn't say anything. I don't know, but it's never going to change. It was something that I've always said I will never change. It will never come on the list of growth because I literally don't give a fuck about it. There are way too many other weaknesses with my personality that I need to put a lot of effort into, and this isn't one of them, and that's interrupting. So Daniel once brought to me, like, I hate it when you interrupt me. It makes me feel like you don't care about what I have to say, and it makes me feel like I don't want to say anything. Now listen, I honored everything that he said. I said, I completely understand how me interrupting you can show you that I don't care about what you have to say or that your feelings or your words don't matter. I understand that. I want you to know, though, it's never going to change. It is never going to change. And I told him why. Because on the grand scheme of things that I need to grow through, the weaknesses and the bullshit and the shit parts of my personality, interrupting you is like number 500th. No, but really it's probably 50th on the list of all the other things. However long that list is, interrupting him is at the bottom, because if I'm destroying his soul and I'm verbally abusing him, if I'm putting him down, if I am degrading him, like demeaning, all those other things that are like way ahead. We can't have a conversation because I'm like clear at level 10 and ready to like rip his head off. Like all those things. If I'm constantly disconnecting from him in our relationship because I feel these other ways, it's so much more important that I heal and I grow and I shift through those things than interrupting him. So I validated him. I let him know it was never going to change. It was a commitment that I would never make. And I still haven't made it to this day. And I think that was probably 5 years ago, 6 years ago, 7 years ago. I don't know, somewhere in there. But I did tell him, I need you to know that when I do interrupt you, though, I'm just excited. I'm excited to respond. I'm excited to engage. I'm excited to share. It's not about not listening to you. It's about wanting to actually be in that with you. So one thing I said to him is, keep talking. I hear you. Please keep talking. And when you do keep talking, you will understand that your voice matters. But if you stop talking, I'm one of those people that will take the conversation, but so keep talking. I hear you. And now he keeps talking most of the time. He can now hear me and keep talking most of the time. Okay? But the capacity to shift, I didn't do it. I didn't have the capacity. Still today, if he came to me and said, hey, interrupting me is still bothering me, now I have shit on my list like not fucking ripping your head off in the middle of a Halloween party. It still ain't going to make it to the top of that list. I've grown through a lot of things that were on my list, but interrupting still isn't going to move up. So capacity. Know your capacity of where you're going to dedicate the time and energy to be a better person for yourself first and foremost, and then for the other people in your life. I doubt interrupting will ever make it the list. That's why I've never made that commitment, and I never will. And then I told him he's got to decide, though, what he wants to do with that. If being interrupted is a deal breaker for him, then he has got to live with the fact that he's got to walk away from me, because I'm telling him I'm never going to fix this. I'm never going to get better at this. I could promise him that. And if it does happen, it'll be a fluke. Okay? So he still has to decide that, even though it's obliterated boundary. If he decided to walk away from me because interrupting him makes him feel like he's worthless, I have to respect that in his boundary or do something about it. And I know that I wouldn't, because my capacity is only so big and I have so many other things that are more important than that. So we figured out a way through it, and I don't know. I think it doesn't bother him anymore. I don't know if it does. I doubt it. He doesn't act. He doesn't respond the same ways. He doesn't have an attitude when I do. None of the things that he was doing are there anymore. So I would say 99% sure it doesn't. But at the end of the day, it's his burden. If he's not willing to walk away with that being a boundary, then he was willing to adjust that, grow that, and we can make that work still. Okay? So I love this because I feel like we've brought everything that I've talked about together, even though I didn't really intend on it being this way. All right. So number 4 is loving. We had personal power, and then we talked about growing. So personal power, growing, and then shifting. And now we are going to talk about loving. Shifting into the next level version of you starts with love. The love of yourself. Okay? Love of yourself. And remember how we started personal power with, how do I feel? How do I want to feel? What does my soul need? We started personal power with that, because loving yourself is everything. And that's how you start with that. Or that's where you start with loving yourself, is your personal power, stepping into it and protecting it, right? And then growing, creating your boundaries, enforcing those boundaries, and doing that with clarity. That helps you love yourself. Okay, shifting. Now taking this information and actually implementing it, actually stepping forward, the practical application of it, and knowing, okay, am I able to do this? Am I willing to do this? And do I have the space to do this? Yes, yes, yes. Ooh, that I don't have the space for. I'm going to tell you, I don't have the space for it because I'm working on this and this and this right now. And these things are way more important to my self-love and the love for you in this relationship. Okay. And now loving. loving of yourself. It brings all of this together. Because when you come from a place of love, when you start from a place of love, which is personal power, loving of yourself and what you need and how you are growing and how you are shifting, everyone else benefits from that. Everyone else benefits from that. I am a firm believer that you should not do things for other people. You should do it for yourself so that they benefit. Because you can do things for other people and you wouldn't benefit from it. But you can't do shit for yourself and your soul healing and growth that they won't benefit from. There's no way. And what I mean by that is you can do things for other people that really the depths of your soul will not benefit from. And that relationship at the highest of levels, that's what you want. If you want them to benefit and if you want to benefit at the highest levels, it starts with you. And that's what I'm saying, okay? Is it starts with you. So my challenge to you is, how can you shift into the next level version of you? When you get to shifting and you're going the ability, willingness, and capacity, if any of those are no, you can't move there. It doesn't mean you just throw up your hands and go, well, I don't have the ability, so I'm not gonna do it. I wanna do it and have the space to do it, but I don't know how. Go to growth. What do you need to learn? Go where you're struggling, go to grow, right? Go to grow, go to learn so you have the ability so that you can actually do it because you have the willingness and the capacity because you have the space. Take what I've taught you here and change your fucking life, okay? I didn't spend an hour here sharing stories about my own personal life to have you walk away and go, oh, that was a good session. I want you to walk away from this and go, where can I apply this? Where can I use this to shift? Start at the very beginning of this session and ask yourself those questions and answer those questions and look at your boundaries that you have. Do they need more clarity? Do you need work on enforcing them? Then look at shifting, ability, willingness, and capacity to shift and practically apply what you learn to inform and by yourself first and foremost, value, honor, respect, and love of yourself first and foremost, and then for other people. And then ask yourself at the very end of all of that, where can I be more loving, right? To yourself, first and foremost. Okay, where can I be more loving to me? It's like where, like in what ways can I be more loving to me? Okay, what actions are not like, where can I be more loving to me? It could be in giving yourself grace. It could be in focusing on progress, not perfection. It could be looking at your worth. It could be looking at your own emotional intelligence, emotional regulation. I talk about this all the time, your self-awareness. All of those things are more loving to you, to yourself. Like next is, what actions or growth do I need to achieve this? Okay. Then you ask yourself, where do I need to go? Where do I need to grow? What are the actions do I need to take to achieve this kind of love for myself? Okay. Those actions could be space. It could be standards. It could be keeping your fucking word to other people, because at the end of the day, that makes you proud of yourself. You're still doing it for you, right? It could be when you don't keep your word, learning to hold that. You know what? I'm just going to let you know right now. I can already see it. I broke my word to you. I raised my voice. I this, I that. I actually broke the word to myself, and I'm fucking pissed off about that. And you got the brunt end of that because I let myself down. So next time I'm going to da 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 da. So that could be another action. So what actions do you need to take? First and foremost, where can you be more loving to you? What actions of growth do you need to achieve this? Okay. And then take action. Because all of this is just talk. Even when you're having this conversation with yourself, even when you're looking at this right now, it's all just talk. You have to take action. And there are going to be some things along the way, especially when you're looking in the growth and the boundaries, where you go, that's a boundary that I have. When you don't keep your word, you fucking lie to me. But the more growth I do, go to grow, I went and did research on partners not keeping their word. And there was like basically an article that said, most people want to feel like that's them lying to you. But really, it's just them reneging on a commitment that they had. Those are two different things. So I'm looking at this going, can I buy into an alternate perspective on what it means when someone doesn't keep their word? Because I define that as lying. Is it that strong? Is it that bold? Is it actually lying? Or do I define it that way because I'm being let down? I define it that way because I'm being let down. So I'm going to spend a lot of time doing a ton of research on people not keeping their word. How can I enforce that boundary and protection of myself? And how can I put things in place of knowing what my next step is to take besides running away from that person or people? Or is walking away from that person or people with a sound mind and stability in my feet what I need to do, because they're not willing to do what they need to do and value, honor, respect, and love of themselves so that I get that benefit. Because listen, when someone isn't keeping their word to you, they're also not keeping their word to themselves. Okay? So I hope that you've loved this. I'd love if you shout out in the comments, what is your number one takeaway from this session? What was something that you absolutely loved? What was your number one takeaway? Okay, so something you absolutely loved, a reminder, some power you got for yourself today. I would love this. Throw this down in the comments. I will be looking at your comments, your responses. Like I said, if I haven't acknowledged you here, it's just because I don't see you here live because I am on StreamYard. So what was your number one takeaway? And then what is your one action you're going to take from this session? Oh my gosh. On action you're taking from this session. Okay. So number one takeaway and then your one action. What are they? Okay. Please shout those out in the comments. Please hold yourself accountable. Please go and take action to shift. What are you going to do to be a better version for yourself? How are you going to show up for yourself? Because if you will just focus on, even if it's at a month at a time, maybe if it's like a 90-day focus. I do a soul treat every 90 days for the next quarter because I want to teach you how to do this kind of work for yourself. So we'll have one at the end of December that will set you up for Q1 of the year. And it's all about refresh, right? The refresh retreat is all about refreshing you, refreshing your mind, your body, your soul, how you show up, how you take care of yourself, all of these things. So I really, really, really hope that you will take action on this now and definitely join us for our Q1 Soul Treat that'll happen towards the end of December so that you can learn how to do this for yourself every 90 days. I tend to do this automatically now as I'm operating in my life and I see something come up, a behavior, a thought process, an attitude, an action that I take that I don't like. I'm like, okay, this is on the top of the list here. And then the universe gives me an opportunity to apply it. And all my goal is to just be a little bit better, a little bit better, a little bit better, a little bit better, a little bit better. And if I'm caught off guard, then I'm angry and I scream and I yell. Not usually though. I don't know when the last time I actually screamed was, but I get angry and my body feels it at a level that I don't want it to. And I was caught off guard and I didn't have myself centered and I didn't have myself grounded. And it's like, fuck, okay, you know what? You're better than you used to be, but you're not as good as you have been. So do better next time, Alicia. You are better than this, right? And then I move and progress and progress and progress with grace, always. And it says they are one and the same. If I know I can't make a commitment to do something or to do something, then be honest that won't change. So, twofold, right? If I know I can't make a commitment to do something, also be honest that thing won't change. Yeah, it's okay to say to someone, I can't commit to making that change, that shift, that growth, that whatever. I'm going to validate them and I'm going to let them know that they are completely valid in how they feel and what they're asking for. But I'm also going to be very honest and fair by saying, hey, that's not something that I can do. If you choose to leave me for that, that's something I've got to deal with. Or maybe I might change my tune, right? Maybe I could change that. I don't know. If it's interrupting you, never going to fucking happen. I interrupt everyone. Everyone. All right. So with that, we will be back here next Monday, which is November 4th. Okay, so November 4th, right around 1:30 p.m. Eastern, and we will be kicking off our series for November, which is, let us see here, Letting Go with Grace. That's our theme. That's our series for the month of November, is letting go with grace. We'll be talking about how to let go of the weight you carry, let go of what protects you in a bad way, how to relinquish control even if you're a type A personality, and the secret to choosing acceptance over the things that you actually really need to embrace and accept instead of fighting against it. So those will be our 4 sessions for the month of November on letting go with grace. So I really hope that you will join me. Thank you, Anne, so much for being here. We'll see you guys next time. Bye.